this way, so I'm not sure.
No, hello. Welcome, ladies. We're live, coming to you live here in the She Network, where we share her excellence. And I've got a special friend here today I cannot wait for you to meet. And so exciting, ladies. If you're tuning in just now, first of all, we want to say hi. Please drop a line. If this is your first time on, let us know. Drop a 1. If you're on replay, #replay. And if this is your first time on and you haven't let StreamYard given your permission to show your name, we want to be able to see who's dialing in. So I want to tell you, guys, if you have not checked out Clubhouse, you have to go check out Clubhouse. Robin, oh my gosh, lady, how are you? I've been missing you. Let's chat. I'm missing you. Yes. So guys, if you haven't caught up to Clubhouse yet, definitely such a great way to really connect with other people. I've been making so many amazing connections, especially with women, amazing entrepreneur women that I probably wouldn't have met otherwise. And so I want to introduce you to my friend, Betty Gulko. I met her in a Clubhouse room. Hey, how are you, Betty?
This is so fun. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here because, so here's the thing, like, ladies, if you are, I want you to hear her story because it's so powerful. But from where she's gone, her journey into where she is now, coaching, entrepreneur, mindset coach, like glow up with Betty, like she has her own podcast, fashion, makeup, like all the things that the girls love. Right? But let's do the breakthrough. What is holding you back? And so she has a coaching, mentoring podcast, and she's going to tell you all about it. But there's so many things that hold us back as women. And we were just talking about this prior to jumping on today. Is like so many women have so many amazing gifts and talents, but they're held back by their own mindset here. But okay, we'll get there. Let's talk about you and how you got there because your story is so powerful. I heard it on Clubhouse. It's awesome. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And hi to everybody listening, tuning in. It is such a pleasure to meet you and be here. Yes, my name is Betty Gulko, and I am your Glow Up Bestie. Now, just to give you a little bit of feedback, this Glow Up Bestie was not born today or yesterday or when I came out of the womb. This has been a work in progress. It is something that I have strived to aim to get to. I have been through a lot, which I will definitely dive into in a moment. But the point of that little snippet is that you can do it too. It takes energy and it takes strength and mindset and confidence to get there. But the possibilities are there. So don't worry.
I love it. So, your journey, I know that you started, and I mean, like, I really connected with you because I heard, as you were sharing your story, I really heard my story inside of yours. I was like, okay, we are friends. We are like, sisters from another mister without question. So you want to share that part? Like, because I think this is really how women truly connect is really in the mess, right? In the mess, in the middle of it.
So I didn't know that. So I'm like, wow, we have to switch the tables and hear your story one time. But so what I like to say, which is such a cute thing, is your mess is in your message, or your message comes from your mess, right? And that takes a lot of strength and a lot of healing before you, 1, recognize that, and 2, are able to utilize it in that way. So a little bit about me, I'll dive all the way back to when I was born. I actually just had my birthday, April 30th. So
happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm laughing because with my daughter, I had to Google, how old am I? I was born in 1984, and she thinks that's the funniest thing ever.
That is funny.
I'm like, so my story starts all the way back in Memphis, Tennessee, where I was born. And right at the onset of birth, I was actually taken away from the care of my birth mother. And that was a lot of different reasons, but the main reasons are due to mental illness and clear, obvious signs of inability to handle and take care of a child, especially a newborn. So right in that moment, I was put into care of, a foster home. And at that point, I lived with her from birth until around 2-3. And throughout that stage, I was in and out of visitation with my birth mother. But
Wow.
at that point, I was a young girl, and then I went to live with her. And from then on, I was in and out of my birth mother's care to various homes, foster homes, group homes, different people in the community, etc., due to the same reasons. It was just mental, physical, emotional abuse, etc. And I lived pretty much in the government-funded homes and apartments and on food stamps. And I was the primary caretaker to my 2 younger siblings. I am and was the oldest, so that was a huge responsibility as a child, right? I mean, I was a child who was a mother. And, it was the kind of lifestyle where it was just survival mode. It was just, looking back on it now, I could see it differently. But in the moments, I didn't think of it like, oh my gosh, this is bizarre. I mean, of course I had friends or people that I met and I knew that wasn't normal, but that's what I had to deal with. And I did what I needed to do to deal with that. That means having a job at a very young and early age, saving money and using it to get what I needed or wanted. Of course, school was not of importance because I had other things to worry about. So that was kind of like on the sidelines, if you would. And friendships or whatnot were very challenging because my birth mother would, use that against me, say I could go places, but then show up at the door a moment of and decide, oh, she can't go and not let me out. So a lot of trauma, a lot of humiliation and things like that just cause you as an adult to have these subconscious reactions and thinking about what's going on in your life, which might not necessarily be true. So I could keep going. Do you want me to keep going?
No, I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, I mean, like, as a woman, as a young girl, I mean, to not have that security, especially whenever women, that's the number one thing that girls need is that security. And to start your life out, without that security from the early on, that you didn't have a stable home, a stable environment, how that impacted you in the long run. Right. So that's a huge, huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, and it's fascinating because of course I had beautiful things that happened as well. And I was able to have incredible opportunities due to the schooling that I ended up attending later on, which I am Jewish. So it was a private Jewish school. They took me in and the family. So, and all of those things, of course, play out positively for me to being able to kind of like see the light, if you would, that, if I place myself in a certain community in terms of relationships or friendships, learning about the surroundings and things that influence you that can change your life. So,
right. Well, and so talk about this. I mean, like, so you were obviously by yourself. You had no other siblings. You were in and out of foster homes without siblings. Did you ever connect with any of your foster parents? Like, did you ever form relationships or bonds with them?
That's a great question. So I do have 2 younger siblings.
Okay. And were they with you, or did you travel as a unit, or were you separated?
So it's complicated, right? But yeah, so most of the times we were separated.
Wow.
So like I was in one home, my sister was in a different home, things like that. I don't recall specifically. Sometimes me and my sister were together, but most of all the time we were all 3 separated when we were with other homes or families.
Wow.
But to answer the other question, that's why it's actually really fascinating, because all 3 of us can have our totally independent own story, which is confusing in itself. Yeah. But yes, I am in touch actually with many. I'm in touch with the woman who took me right away. Her name is Gloria. Oh my gosh, I should like tag her to come in here. That'd be so cute. She's just adorable, precious, sweet soul, like just one of those people that it makes so much sense that she would take babies and be able to love and care for them and then give them back. Like, you can imagine how hard that is.
No, I can't even imagine. I mean, it's like, I can't even imagine doing that with a puppy, much less a baby. Exactly. Right? I mean, it would take a special woman.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. So you've maintained, because you hear so many nightmare stories of the foster system.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's always the good and the bad, but you hear so many tales, and for to be, shuffled around in and out inside the foster system, um, I mean, that is a whole story in and of itself. So,
Yeah,
so,
a lot.
so did you ever, like, throughout as you were growing up, did you, I mean, were you able to reestablish a relationship with your mom at any time, or is that
That's a good
still?
question. No, well, okay, so basically, so around when I was in 10th grade, I was taken away again, and that was a whole other story in itself, where actually the Department of Education, the Department of whatever, the police, came to take us. And at that point, I was, 16, 17. I was big, and I had a relationship with her, but it was at a distance at this point. But my two younger siblings had a much more challenging time to separate. So I was always in touch with her via them, or I would see her every now and then. So just to get to that question is, I actually raised money and I worked and saved money to provide for myself to go to college. And after I graduated high school, I actually went to Israel to study college abroad, to learn about my religion. And that was my first year, like fully, completely, totally away in such a, big way that I was really able to kind of, like, it sounds funny, but I was able to really be like, whoa, that's like a lot. And there was a lot that went on there. And I don't know if that's what I need to be around. So I stopped.
So this is an interesting question. So where did you get your faith from? Because, I mean, who instilled that? Because there would be, there would be challenges, or there would be questions as to, it seems like it would be very easy for some people to take the position to be mad at God, to be upset with God, to be, how could you if you're a loving God, how would you let that happen? So who made that connection and connected those dots with you to your faith?
I love that question. So my birth mother, just to clarify one piece, to fast forward to current times, she did pass away right when I was pregnant with my daughter, who is 8. So I guess around 9 years ago. So just to say that, and to take it back to your question. So she was Jewish, and Judaism goes by the mother. So because of that, I am Jewish. Now, when I came into the other neighborhood, which had many Jewish families and communities, that's when they took us on as a community, and I went to the Jewish day school. So I started learning and was around the Jewish life.
So that was like your environment, like you were integrated around that environment. So, I mean, to take that on, to think, okay, I'm going to save money so I can put myself through school in Israel. I mean, that's huge. I mean, like, even think about that is like, that's big.
Yeah, it was. It was tremendously scary. But I think perhaps, most of my life I was very independent, and also because of this dynamic that was like, I really had nothing to lose. I mean, what was going to happen? What was going to be of me? Like, if I stayed home, certainly nothing, right? I don't mean that in a harsh way, just like, that's the situation. I wasn't going to go to college there. And I think, again, because of my environment, many other students or people around me were doing such thing. And in fact, my classmates were very wealthy, and they were going to Ivy League schools. And it was an interesting dynamic, because even though it helped, it was tremendously challenging, because I was like, not only did I not have, but I was like a really unique story that they couldn't even wrap their heads around. And many of them to this day are like, by the way, can you tell us kind of what happened? Because we don't really know. Like, you were hanging around us, but we never really asked questions. So it's weird.
Interesting. Yeah. So you're in Israel, you're putting yourself through school. So what's the next step for you? I mean, because somebody would argue to say, like, okay, you're going to have a lot of baggage, like emotional baggage, right? I mean, let's just talk about it, like a scar tissue. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, my shoulders have been heavy for many years. I'm not going to lie. I mean, those bags are heavy, you know, and I don't like extra baggage. I don't like any extra coats. Like, I am just like a free spirit. And listen, there's something to be said for just your natural God-given personality. And I always remind people that there is something about me that I can't necessarily say that it's me, I did it. There is a piece that I just was given. But it's up to me and my choice and my mindset and my abilities to take that and highlight it, to take that and hone in, to take that and learn and grow and ask questions. So there is that, you know. So I wouldn't say like I'm going to be a mathematician because I read math books all day. Math is not my thing.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I love this conversation because so many times, you know, we've heard that story, or we've heard that saying, you know, life can happen to you or for you. Mm-hmm. And you know, and we can either, you know, it can either be, you know, lemons or lemonade, however you choose to see it. And so I think based on what I see, you know, your natural personality is not something that I see that's okay, that was going to hold you captive to your past. Like you had the mindset, that ability to, okay, to know I need more, to know that I want more, and to not let that whole define you, not let your past define you, where I think so many people allow their past, things that people say, the negative things, for them to meditate on it and dwell on it and just stay stuck. So, you know, so this is such a great story of breakthrough. But what was next? I mean, like, you have a business, but you're married, you have kiddos, you're a wife, you're everything.
I'm everything. Taylor, you're adorable. Listen, this has been a journey. Okay. This has been a journey. I love saying this. It was a journey. It is a journey, and it will always be a journey. That's like what I love to say, because thank you. You know what? Like, it doesn't stop. It doesn't just
This is so true. It's like you never arrive. Come on, ladies. Like, you have to keep pressing in. Yeah. You never arrive. You never reach the finish line. This is life. It's the race, right?
You got to be in it to win it. And the beauty is that there's always room to grow. So it's not like, oh, I've accomplished this, like my life is good, I'm done. It's like, oh my gosh, it's exciting. Now that I've done that, what else can I do? And it gives you that confidence, right? To be like, holy shit, you know, I went through college. I did my master's. Okay. I started a second master's. I take courses at Yale. Like, these are things I'm saying not to brag. I'm saying because it actually almost makes me cry. Why? Because I never in my wildest dreams could imagine that I would be able to accomplish schooling education, that I would even have the opportunity. And in fact, it was told to me in my face many times, and that's cool. You know, I get it. But the point is that, you know, like, holy snap, you have it within you. And that's why, just to fast forward for a second, that's why I'm so passionate and aligned for the first time, actually, in many years. I feel, one, this natural drive, and two, I see it in myself. I see how you really, truly can make a shift and make changes for the betterment of you and your family and whomever else. Ultimately, you have to have it within you to want it, to believe it. And even if you're not there yet, that's why we have people in our lives who can help us.
So how did you meet your husband? So let's talk about that, you know.
I actually met in Israel.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
He's from Massachusetts, and he was there doing a similar program. And we met just through mutual friends, and we were just friends, and we started dating eventually, and then eventually got married. So.
So now you guys live in New York, right? And you have tell us about your children.
Yeah, we have one daughter. She's 8, Adina Maya. She's 8 going on 15.
There you go. Like Uncle Lynn. Well, okay. So tell us about your entrepreneurial journey. So as that, you went to college and you're doing all this studies, but when did you decide, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur? Like, I mean, when did that unfold for you?
So I started out my career in general, my working field as a therapist, and I was working with children on the autistic spectrum. I was doing full-time ABA therapy. So that was really my focus. And I started to take my second master's to create and get my BCBA, my board certified behavioral analyst. And my intentions were to start my own private practice. Now, psychology is my jam. I love it. Not only to fix my family. Yeah, so that was kind of like the direction I thought I would go in. And originally the idea was like, what do I naturally have? Psychology. What do I enjoy being around kids, education? And what can I, like set yourself up for success? Like, what can I actually do to make money? That was really the plan. Life takes its turns and you grow and you learn and you have different opportunities. So after about 7 or so years, specifically working with autistic children, I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this forever. And, it's hard to say because I feel a little bit guilt, and it's nothing to do with the fulfillment that I got from doing that. It's obviously incredibly exciting to see the transformations you can make in one's life.
Yes.
But for me personally, I'm a creative, and I just was like lacking. I was like, I can't.
Well, and I think this is because sometimes, it could be where you are. It's just one chapter of your life, right? Just, unfolding to the next chapter because, as you walk through one chapter of life, it starts unfolding different desires or different levels of who you are and like what you want to do with that. And so I always love to find out like entrepreneurs as they embark upon this journey, because so many times people have a tendency out of their own fear, they stay stuck in something that no longer is really not serving them. It's not serving really anybody else because there's no joy in it. There's no fulfillment. Whenever it once was, but they don't realize they've grown. They're different.
Yeah.
They've evolved, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is such a powerful, a conversation that you can pivot at any time. Whenever you no longer find joy in what you're doing, there's nothing wrong with showing a pivot and pivoting into something different that, you can use where you currently are as a launching pad into something different.
That's right. And you know what? It's challenging. It's challenging. I think that so many times we get stuck on, I think usually it's a financial point, which is something to talk about. Like, don't ignore that. But, if you make just like the small steps towards perhaps what you have in mind, and then you can see and gain the momentum, you can hopefully then shift, which is really what I did at that point. I started doing styling because I love fashion and it's natural for me and I just know how to put together looks. And people were always asking me all the time anyways, Betty, what do I wear? How do I put this together? And so I started my own business, and that was such a Betty.
And were you personal shopper and then you did personal shopping for people and put looks together for them, or how did that unfold?
Yeah, so I was focusing mainly on doing editorial photo shoots.
Okay.
So the stylist behind the scenes who curated everything, and it's oh my gosh, it's amazing. The thrill, the excitement of the creative space of that. And then as a side thing, in addition, I offered, that closet organizing, personal shopping, things of that sort. And then really social media became a fad in terms of Instagram. So I had my page like everybody. And within the community that I was living at the time, I was able to connect with the brands there, and they didn't really have any awareness of what a stylist did or what they can offer and how to really level up their branding. And I was there. I guess it was timing and whatever words you want to use, divine, So with that, I was able to build up my presence on social media. And that was my first, entrepreneurship, own boss business.
So what are some of the things that you learned as being in business for yourself through that first initial experience as being an entrepreneur? Because going from being, in the psychology, that's a big leap right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's something that you love, I mean, which is great. But being an entrepreneur, now you have to employ yourself. So you have to have that kind of mindset. How do you get your clients? So you have to have marketing, right? You have to have budgets, right? You have to have money coming in. You have to manage money. Like there's a lot of different hats you have to wear as an entrepreneur. So you want to talk about the challenges with that?
Yeah. I'm like laughing because those challenges are still here, baby. Like, whew. And many days, if not sometimes a few weeks, I'm like, I just need a break because it's extremely overwhelming. And again, I am a little bit of a type A personality, so I'm very organized, and I'm just like, if I don't know something, I figure it out. I taught myself, I go on YouTube, I figure it out, I ask questions. I'm not like, I don't hold on to my ego. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not sure. How do I make this email? Like, how do I get on MailChimp and get my emails? Like, because at the end of the day, life is short. And, if you want to grow and build, you have to be able to humble yourself. Being alone and being by yourself and thinking you're the best or whatnot is just literally not going to get you anywhere long.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it was a shift. It was a big shift, but again, I don't know. I think it's just something that's like in me naturally. I think I'm a social person. I enjoy being around people. I enjoy helping. And by the way, there's psychology in all of that. There's psychology in marketing. There's psychology in styling and creating a brand for someone. I always have long meetings about it and say, who do you want to reach to? We have to decide who's that person and what do they need to hear in order to get to them. So it's actually not too off when you know a lot about the fields, but if you just hear from nowhere, oh, she went from here to here, like what's going on, Betty? it is a bit funny, but
it is so big. So from going to a stylist now, then going into the next level, what made you make that leap? So we're going to stylist, personal shopping. So now going into the next level, how did you get to that place? I mean, I can almost guess, but I would like to hear it straight from you.
Well, write down your guess and we'll see if you're right.
Okay. I will. Go.
Let's see. So I had that business, and then really I had our daughter. I actually had an ectopic pregnancy prior to her healthy birth. And once I had her and life changed, just like different lifestyle changes, traveling into the city often and going to showrooms, it's a lot of schlepping. Like being a stylist looks glamorous if you just aren't, watching it. But to be real, it's a lot of schlep, like going and shopping, going and getting, organizing, being put together, and then returning. And, it could be fabulous for the end result, but most people just see the end result. So my point is I kind of got just like overwhelmed by it. And as the world changed and social media changed, it wasn't as lucrative as my time was being spent. So yeah. I pivoted again, and that's okay. So
what I actually wrote down was mom, become a mom.
Yay! Nailed it.
Listen, that changes. That's always a catalyst. So ladies, like, as you're listening in, here's the thing. It doesn't matter what the pivot is. Yeah. It's identifying like, okay, this no longer serves me. This is not where my priorities are, because, to your point, you probably really started reevaluating, okay, what's my priority?
Mm-hmm.
What's important to me? And those are very valid questions at any entrepreneurial level. Am I being the mom that I want, the wife that I want? Is everything out of balance? Because if you find yourself unhappy or unfulfilled, it usually comes as a result of answering this question.
Yeah.
That you're not in alignment to who you are and what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's where whenever you start questioning that, that's whenever you need to start asking the hard questions. And is it time to pivot? And is it time to make a shift? So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and Taylor, I love that. I want to just add, which is no shame. No
Yes.
shame. And I know that for myself, I many times feel like guilt. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this going to look like? Like, how many times could you pivot, Betty? Right? Or what message are you sending? And I'm like, no, like go within and really just ignore everything else around you and say, Taylor, what does this mean to me, right? What would it mean to me if I were to do X, Y, and Z? How would I feel? How would I be able to carry over, just as you said, to the family or whatnot? And does it feel like strong to me? Does my heart like get excited, right? And if you're able to, of course, then you start to pivot and say, you know what? There's no shame, because, oh my gosh, I'm more fulfilled. I'm feeling my best self, and I'm able to be present at a much better level, right?
See, this is, I mean, this is such a valid conversation for so many women, because we get caught up in what people think about us and what people, and the truth of the matter is, it really doesn't matter what other people think, because if you're answering to, I mean, to me, it's like I'm answering to the audience of one, which is God. For me, I mean, that's who I need to be in alignment with. Everybody else out there, I don't have to answer to anything or anyone, and I don't have to please anyone except, in walk in that relationship and walk true in that relationship. So now we're out of this place. Okay, so now what's the next step? Here you're a mom. Now it's like, okay, what does that look like for me? And how did you make that pivot?
Yeah. So that was a bit of a challenging break, if you would, because I really wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure. I tried to start a clothing line, and although it was fine, it definitely wasn't as, quote unquote, successful as I had imagined. And, you dabble in a few different things and you kind of try to get your feet wet. So that's pretty much what I did. And I was still a content creator, and I had a blog, and I was still running businesses and doing well financially in that way. So things were okay, but it became more of like this monotonous, like forced almost position where, you better be present and you better post and you better show up in whatever way you're supposed to, or else, you're nothing. Right. And I was like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to do that. This is so frustrating, because a big part of my upbringing was doing things that I had to do without really any ownership for me. And that was a challenging few years, because I really, like, behind the scenes, meaning I really was just like, I'm just posting to post, and I don't have my purpose. Like, I didn't feel valuable in that way. And that came from a place of my heart. That came from and by the way, no ill will in any human who decides to do any type of social media things just because they love fashion, and that's cool. Like, amazing.
Well, and here's the thing, like, Betty, I can probably guarantee you, I go through the same thing. I leave through the same thing, and I'm like going, okay, and post, like, to make a post. Okay, so what? Like, am I really making a difference? You start asking yourself all those questions. Am I really, who is this for? And who is this and this exhausting. Like,
it's exhausting.
if you're not in alignment with what's being communicated, at the end of the day, if you're not in alignment with what's being communicated, then it really is a challenge. And so speak to that. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that, because guys, you know what? Like, it's a, social media I could go on a whole rant about. And the irony is, if you don't know me, you're like, what are you talking about? You're literally there all day. But it's a love-hate relationship, because I really think it's so funny that people think that we are immune to this kind of like societal, like, perception and expectations, etc. And I'm like the first one to know exactly what goes on behind the scenes, but meanwhile, I fall for it every single time. And you have to really be aware of who you are. And that goes back to so much that I've said, and knowing, appreciating, and recognizing, hey, you know what, Betty, it's okay. Like, you need a break. It's not the big of a deal. Turn it off and put your efforts elsewhere. And that way, when you are inspired, which, because I'm a creative, I'm a little bit ADD and all over, it kind of just pops randomly, then go for it, run, do it. And you know what, actually, I want to add, what I finally started to do with my photo shoots, if you would, for my social, is really give it as much as I'm able to me. Previously, I'm like, oh, let's just do the robot, like the cute blogger pose. And now I'm like, no, I'm editorial. Like, I love unique and fun creative. So I started doing that again when I'm able. I'm not always able to do that. So for my birthday, I really was like, I want to do this with the flowers and da-da-da. And I got the flowers and I, set it up and I made it a whole thing and I planned it, funky makeup, just as I would do if I was working.
Yeah.
So, and then I felt like, oh, yes, I love that, and now the message is clear. The message is to inspire and to get you guys moving and motivated and glowing up. So
I love that. So, we talked about like, your big deal is, in and through your bio is like, how can mindset change your life?
Mm-hmm.
So, as we're, getting here, like finishing up here. So equip the ladies that are listening, because we talk about this, but how give them something really to hang on to today. Like, what would you equip them with? And based on what your experience is and based on how you've coached some of your clients, like, can you give us a feel for that?
Yeah. Okay, guys. Time went by fast. I still have so much I'd love to share, but in terms of mindset, okay. So just as I've shared a lot, not everything, but a lot about my personal journey, and what you can see from that, which is also what I help with current clients, is the ability to start somewhere, even if it's not the most positive space. Just start somewhere. So you find a helper, you find a team, you find a friend, you find a coach, whatever that might be. And you say, okay, I am at this place. Be honest, be fresh, be real. I am at this place. And that's where you're going to start. So you start there and you continue from that place moving forward to build on that. And that is getting anything, even the smallest thing, positive things that you've done, positive things you're trying to do, little bits of encouragement. If you've taken the initiative to, I don't know, clean your room, right? We're going to add that. We're going to add that. And we're going to talk about it and we're going to keep building, and we stack it up and we stack it up. And then eventually, little by little, we talk about it. We say, oh my gosh, amazing. And that's where it comes in, of building your confidence. So it's kind of intertwined, really, because once we build the confidence together with this concept of building up positive things, you again change your mindset. And then we start talking about your mindset. Okay, so what are some words and terminology we could say to ourselves? What are some terms and terminology that you can speak to yourself? It's in your own language. How I speak to myself for loving and mindset might be different than yours. So I might wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and be like, you're a bad, right? And I'm like, you got this. And I'm like, oh yeah, you sexy, right? But that might not be your way, which is cool. So we figured out what works for you, what you can start to force yourself to do. We force it, yes, until you get into the habit and that comfort zone of being like, oh my gosh, this is right. Changing the mindset of the ability, the knowledge, the awareness, belief that is going to change, and we shift it. We totally shift it. It's a habit. Your brain is powerful. It's a habit. And anything you tell yourself, even without you knowing, subconsciously, is going to affect how you behave and talk to others and yourself. So I said a lot, but I think it's just
this is good because I always use the thing, thoughts become words.
Yes.
Words become habits, right? Habits become character, right? So no, sorry, actions, habits. So actions, so your actions. So by doing this, you're creating actions that form habits. Exactly. So sometimes we don't always take the right actions because that can work either way, good or bad, but we have to create good actions that turn into good habits, mm-hmm. right? So that are in alignment to the direction that you want to move your life into. So whenever they listen, so when the ladies are connecting with you, what is your podcast like whenever you do your podcast? So how can they connect with you on your podcast?
Thank you so much. Yes, my podcast, it's Chat with Betty. And it's really just a great conversation all about various topics, really surrounding growth, mindset, personal growth, development, talking away taboos, giving you tips or tricks on how to better your life, etc. So the topics vary, but it's all under that umbrella of personal growth. And you could just check it out on Spotify or Apple and see what topic resonates with you.
And how often do you do your podcast?
Yeah, that's part of my struggle is consistency, and that's just one of my things, but it tends to be every 2 weeks.
Okay. And so now do you still do styling? Do you still do consulting in that realm, or,
So, listen, a job is a job, and if I have the availability and I get offered it, it works out, then great, but it's not something that I specifically go out of my way to advertise.
so what are the things that do you have like do you have a special quote or a scripture or anything that you use that you hang on to daily whenever you like it's a bad day, or it's like, okay, I need a handle, I need something to grab onto? Is there something that like you use for yourself?
That is such a good question, Taylor. And I mean, definitely one that I tend to gravitate towards is everything happens for a reason, and it's all going to work out in the end. And especially taking it back to how you want to translate things. So if I say, like, manifesting, if something's going like not so great, which by the way, guys, things don't go great all the freaking time. This is life. We can accept that and know that, but it's how are we going to maneuver through it? Are we going to let it like take over our life or take over our day? No, because we got things to do. So let's move it along. Let's work through it. And I usually say, okay, everything happens for a reason, and there's something going on here. This is either something for me to learn. This is either something that's not meant to be, or this is something that is actually going to end up changing into something that I actually want. So I can't think of a specific example, but it's really about, just knowing that this might suck and this does not seem like something I want, but there is a reason. I'm not sure what it is. Let's just take it slow.
Love it. Love it. So any last final words of wisdom to the ladies here in the She Network? Is there anything that like you go, okay, every woman needs to know X?
Every woman needs to know a good skincare routine.
That's true.
I mean, Taylor's looking amazing, so we should ask Taylor.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, it's a never-ending battle. That's why I'm always thinking about my skincare. I'm like, okay. Yeah, my gosh, I don't know. That's a good one. I think that obviously the She Network is doing fabulous things. So if you're new here, just keep following, tuning in, getting the notifications for incredible women coming up here, because that's really what it's about. You know what? This is what I'm going to say. Teamwork, collaboration, being respectful and loving and appreciating each and every woman, because so much in my field, so much in my lifetime, even till today, it just does not come out that way. And part of my other brand that I had started was enough talk about women supporting women. I'm actually putting into action, because at one point it was a big hashtag, women supporting women. And I'm like, okay, let's stop talking about it and let's actually do it. So this is what I'm about. This is what I love. So chime into She Network and Betty and all this great stuff so we can continue that.
I love it, because that's been one of my big phrases. Like, if you think she's beautiful, I mean, hashtag tell her, right?
Yes.
She looks good, hashtag tell her. Like, it's because so many times we shrink back and don't tell women what, how amazing they are. And more women need to hear that from other women, and where we can create a space where we can collaborate and not compete. And that's really, that's really what I love about this space and what we're doing here for women, and creating belief, because belief determines behavior. And so, Betty, what an honor to have you here today. Thank you so much for taking out time from your business, from your family, to be here and share. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And anytime, I cannot wait to chat with you at any point via Facebook, via Instagram, via Clubhouse. There's so many now. So wherever you're at, I'm there.
Okay, ladies, that is it for us today. This is Betty Gulko, and this is Taylor Thompson. We're signing off. You guys have a blessed, amazing day. We're signing off She Network, where we share her excellence. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.